This is Russia heading to a strategic
Those
defeat in
who
Ukraine,
dance
according
are
to the Caspian Report, who's Azerbaijani.
considered insane by those who can't hear the music. Putin has misjudged Ukraine, deeply so. What was supposed to be a lightning strike, amputating the Ukrainian government, has turned into a lengthy siege. Russian tactical planning is lacking in morale, logistics, and communications. Ukrainians are fighting back. They don't want to be part of the Russian backyard. Meanwhile, America and Europe are imposing severe costs on Moscow, so much so that Russia has surpassed Iran as the most sanctioned nation with a record-breaking 5,532 sanctions in total. Even in the information war, Russia is performing poorly. Every conflict is a battle for public opinion, and Russian credibility...
I love when people say that. Like, as though they have any fucking... Like, as though they could ever go against, like, every Western nation literally up in arms, collectively banning any Russian outlet ever, and also simultaneously pumping out, like, pro-Ukrainian propaganda for morale 24/7. Yeah, no shit, dude. Of course they're losing that. The only area, and there's the other side of this, though. The only area where actually... there is pro-Russian media is China and India. And for some reason, Westoids are just like completely fucking, completely oblivious for some weird reason to these massive fucking countries that are at the very least neutral towards Russia in this circumstance. Some of these shouters show by saying America bad, NATO bad isn't a substitute for theory and materials analysis. In what fucking world could a supposed leftists take 10 steps back past Ukraine is not innocent and a land on Russia is innocent, though? Yeah, I don't know. I think just like angry people who literally just hate America. Russians ban any Western source, though. What was the left supposed to do? Let them spew obvious fake shit? No, I'm just saying that, like, that's the reason why Russia's not winning the propaganda war in the West. They can't. They could never do that. The West will pull a Russia on Russia real fucking quick before Russia could pull a Russia on the West. Okay? But then we act like that's not the case. But anyway, whatever. Let's continue.
Is faltering. No one is buying Moscow's justification for war. From the Baltics to the Caucasus to Central Asia, Russia's neighbors feel uneasy, ceaselessly pondering who is next on the Kremlin's hit list. All of these factors affect Russian policymaking. It's
okay, bro. I don't know where this dude's... Okay, this is ridiculous.
Clear as day, by invading Ukraine, Putin has made the biggest strategic blunder of his life. Even if the Russian army were to win every battle and
he's right about that. That, you know, it was a gigantic mistake. I don't know anyone that thinks like
now it's 3 months later,
the people that say that like what
been.
Putin is doing is like genuine anti-fascist action are just like fucking brain broken, delusional, absolutely fucking insane.
Every city, Russia would still lose the war. It wouldn't be able to secure Ukraine at large. Winning the hearts and minds of the populace would be an impossible task. And for as long as Ukrainians stand tall, Russia is headed to strategic defeat. Today's video is sponsored by Ground News. Keeping up with events in Ukraine can be difficult at times. Some stories are...
Just stop shitting on me, country. Listen, they're just saying Moldova better watch out. And what, you think they're wrong? You've been in this community for like 5 years, and you've only talked about how Russia is psychotic and violent. Moldova, Mama Liga. It's like you're the #1 guy who's always saying Moldova needs to watch out.
Inconsistent or confusing. Recently, President Biden announced that he was sending more anti-aircraft, anti-armor weapons, and drones to Ukraine. The package is worth about $800 million, and it includes Switchblade 300 loitering missiles. That's a big deal. These drones can harm Russian logistics further still. But what's interesting is how this news was covered. Using Ground News's bias distribution tool, I can see that 78 news outlets reported on this story. But while left-leaning outlets made up 44%, only 14% of the news outlets were right-leaning. That's a staggering difference, and clearly it's a story that is a blind spot for people on the right. Polarization of news can eventually lead to different political outcomes, so knowing how the news is made is just as important as the news itself. And Ground News has a host of useful tools that help me break down stories. If you're looking for a better way to stay informed about current events around the world, check out Ground News by visiting ground.news/Caspian.
This app is terrible, I'm sorry. I mean, this seems terrible. Anything that shows you biases is like
Putin
ridiculous.
has crafted for himself an image of a strongman, someone who calculates his every move. Be that as it may, Putin may not be able to win the war in Ukraine on favorable terms. If military...
Bro, this guy is so Turkic. The way he says Putin, I love it. I'm sorry. This is completely random, but he's so Azeri. He's like, Putin.
Operations continue to stall, Russia could find itself stuck in a costly, senseless occupation of Ukraine. Such an occupation would drain Russian resources while bringing nothing of value in return. And even though the Russian army could gain control over southern and eastern Ukraine, subduing western Ukraine will be considerably more difficult. The western portion of the country has much more forest cover, which will prove useful for Ukrainian insurgency forces operating in that particular area. It would be a situation similar to the Ukrainian partisan conflict during World War II, when Ukrainian guerrilla fighters took shelter in the dense forests of western Ukraine and coordinated hit-and-run attacks. In a revival of such an insurgency, each destroyed Russian tank would encourage Ukrainian insurgents to resist, while each Ukrainian killed would deepen resentment towards Russians. Resentment, hate, loathing, and disgust are ugly emotions, but powerful nonetheless. Hate can move nations, mobilize entire societies, and like nourishment, it can sustain the Ukrainian insurgency for generations. Backed by the West, that Ukrainian insurgency would be heavily armed and well financed. And for as long as it operates, it would drain on the morale of Russian troops and possibly drive the Russian economy into poverty. History is packed with instances where ragtag militias ousted superior occupational armies from power. For example, in the 1950s and 1960s, Algerian guerrilla fighters found ways to break the superior French army and sap away at the political will in Paris. Likewise, even if Russia were to gain tactical gains on the ground, it would still face strategic defeat. The fundamental truth is that it is easier to conquer a country than to hold on to it. The Russians wouldn't gain what they sought out to achieve, which is a stable buffer separating the Russian heartland from the competition in NATO. The unintended consequences of the war...
Okay, he's 100% right on this. There is no extended occupation in Ukraine by Russian forces. Like, that is part of the reason why I always said that it was not going to happen. Like, that it was, that Russia was not going to invade Ukraine. It would be fucking insane. Because it is. And you were never going to be able to subdue and put down the Ukrainians and their willingness to be independent from Russia. Especially by invading. Shit was not popping, you know?
Consequences such as sanctions and insurgents would be exhausting for the Russians, since they went into this war with wildly different expectations. By its own design, Russia would involuntarily enter into a proxy conflict playing out right before its front yard. Now, Putin has always been a gambler, and a reckless one at that. In 2019, the editors of the Financial Times newspaper asked him if his appetite for risk-taking had increased or decreased with each passing year. Putin responded by citing a Russian phrase.
Не увеличилось, не снизилось. Риск всегда должен быть оправданным. Но это не тот случай, когда можно применить известную такую веселую расхожую фразу. Кто не рискует, тот не пьет шампанского. Это не тот случай.
Putin took considerable risks in Georgia, Syria, Crimea, and Donbass, forcing Western policymakers to accommodate.
The risk that he took in Crimea and Donbass and Georgia is nothing in comparison to Ukraine. Like, you can't even make the comparison. As I've said, all three of these areas are drastically different in the way that Putin has dealt with it, with the closest similarity being Georgia to Ukraine. Ultimately, none of them are as much as a strategic blunder as full-scale, all-out invasion of Ukraine.
Cooperate, and negotiate with him. And while those risks paid off, his Ukraine gamble is already showing signs of blowback.
Sure.
One of the most perplexing shortcomings is that there seems to be no political plan for the day after. What happens after taking Kiev is unknown. The Kremlin could muster a secret police to subdue the Ukrainian population. It could also stage an election and put in power a pro-Russian government body in Kiev. Call it Vichy Ukraine, but the authority of that body would be questioned by foreigners and Ukrainians alike. Much like the American lack of political planning in Iraq and Afghanistan, Russia would enroll in an unwinnable occupation. Instead of a stable buffer space that the Russians wanted, Ukraine would turn into a highly volatile conflict zone that could also spill over into Russian territory. The ultimate result would be the opposite of what the Russians set out to achieve. What's more, a quagmire in...
I 1,000,000% agree with everything he's saying. Like, there were some parts originally that I did not like, but everything he's saying is completely correct. The only way to have dealt with this was through as much soft power as possible and using your strategic relationships that you have with your trade partners in Europe, and to constantly show the world that America was like ruining and sullying this this situation. Even like utilizing OSCE, Western fucking outlets and Western installed security measures that you could literally, at the very least, like show and build a better case for the crimes against humanity that were occurring in Donbass. Even if he juked everybody by acting like he was going to invade and not invade, that would have been a fucking huge blow to Western intelligence, Western nations. If he like straight up did not invade and was like, no, we're just doing military exercises like we said we were. Also, look at all the fucking violence that's occurring in Donbass, yada yada yada. Even then, it could have been fucking a way better strategic move than straight up invading Ukraine and making Zelensky, a person with like 28% approval rating, become a fucking international hero. Like, if your goal is to belittle, undermine Western-backed Ukrainian leadership, this is the worst thing you could have done. If your goal is to legitimately denazify Ukraine, which, by the way, I think is fucking bullshit. I don't think that was ever like a real reason. Then this is the worst thing you could have done. It's so stupid. They're pulling at America right now. And the difference is they're not a hegemonic power. So they can't pull at America. Only America can pull at America.
Ukraine wouldn't be something the Russians could walk away from, since it wouldn't be some faraway overseas operation, but a large neighboring state. The Ukrainian public would likely reject Russian occupation as much as they would reject puppet rule in Kiev, and no amount of repression would change the hearts and minds of Ukrainians. Going by this, Russia has already failed in its chief objective. It wouldn't be able to hold on to Ukraine in the long term. Now, admittedly, the new puppet government in Kiev, with the aid of Moscow, would have more success in eastern and southern Ukraine. But Putin wouldn't be able to turn Ukraine into a submissive state like Belarus. The Russian occupation and subjugation of Ukraine could never work in practice owing to Ukraine's territorial size and the population's recent memory. So while in the past Putin rejected Ukrainian nationhood, calling it an artificial state, a creation of Lenin, he cannot undo Ukrainian identity. That genie is out of the bottle. As much as the Russian leadership wants, they will not be able to assimilate Ukrainians into the Russian identity. No amount of repression can change that. In fact, by kicking the hornet's nest, the Russian occupation is actually strengthening the Ukrainian perception.
Exactly, dude. This is 100% the part of the argument that I agree with in its entirety, which is occupying Ukraine, once again, only stokes up nationalist attitudes and justifies them and legitimizes them. They are seen as an emancipatory force, as a force that will do righteous violence towards the invading Russian orcs, okay? Not saying that, but like that is the Ukrainian take. So smart of Putin. What a fucking 5D chess move, dude.
Of nationhood, bringing it much needed unity. The sense of shared communal experience is strong, always has been. Nations, after all, are born on the battlefield and forged by stories. With each passing day, new stories are added to the Ukrainian chronicles. Think of the president who refused to flee the capital, the soldiers from Snake Island, the ghost of Kiev, or the woman who told Russian soldiers to put seeds in their pockets so sunflowers will grow when they die. Some of these tales are not entirely accurate, but that matters little. These are the stories that nations are built from, and it's a force that is...
He's right. He's right. No war story is real. They make it up as they go along for propaganda. They take advantage of the fog of war. You know, it still has staying power. People still love that shit.
Nearly impossible to combat. Meanwhile, on a global...
Some are real. Yeah, totally, dude. Like the ghost of Kiev, right? Or the Snake Island guys, actually, they died.
Level, the sanctions imposed on Russia would split the country from the globalized economy. Capital flight will become a daily reality, foreign investment will dwindle, technology transfers will cease, and innovative firms will look to leave the country. Even hydrocarbon markets could close businesses in Russia, which would make it nearly impossible to reform and modernize the Russian economy. China could become an invaluable ally for the Russians, but China cannot carry the weight of the entire Russian economy. That is just not going to happen. So even if somehow Moscow manages to subdue Kiev, Russia itself could fall into ruin in the process. A key variable in the fallout will be the Russian public and its perception of political leadership. In the past, assertive military policies proved popular at the polls. The Syrian intervention and the Crimean annexation performed well for Putin's approval ratings. However, Ukraine is close to home. It holds an entirely different meaning for Russia.
Thanks for the great content. Slime 14 high.
It's also 44 million people. Not every single person is like pro-Russia, like they were in Crimea. You can take over Crimea without firing a fucking shot. You can't do that to Ukraine. It's entirely different.
There are millions of mixed Russian-Ukrainian households, and the two nations share deep-running cultural ties. Eventually, information about the war in Ukraine will spill over into Russia proper. And as much as the Russian propaganda machine will try to conceal, twist, or disprove things...
You found a guy watching me on the plane, dude? That's awesome. Hey, yo, that's sick as fuck, dude. I bought the plane Wi-Fi just to be here when you're live. That's a folding phone, lol. That's crazy. That's sick. Wait, someone yesterday literally said they were watching me on the plane. I wonder if this is the chatter. Remember? Wait, but that's not from yesterday, is it? Oh, it is. I think this is literally from yesterday. Remember someone in the chat said, and I read what they said. It was like, damn, I'm watching this guy. Oh, he's not wearing shoes. Oh no. Same outfit? No, it's the same dude. This is the dude who's watching. No, this is definitely an anarchist, dude. That guy said something like the future is crazy, right? Yeah, literally. But I think that's just a VOD. He's watching my latest video, the Robert Reich one. Oh, you're wearing the same outfit in the video? No. I'm not wearing the same outfit on the video. I'm wearing a little bit different one. I know who was on the plane. I'm gonna play. Oh, sorry. No, it's not Austin. I was watching butt naked in an outdoor public bath in Japan 2 days ago. That's sick. I love that, dude. People getting caught watching me in public is my favorite fucking thing. But especially the weirder the situation, the better. What's the ratio of hate watcher to legit watcher? Oh no, it's not that. I mean, I definitely have like more hate watchers than some other content creators for sure, but it's not like not even comparable. It's probably like fucking maximum like 5 to 10% most likely. It's entirely also dependent on like what we're doing or what I'm talking about. Like for example, shit gets brigaded regularly. Wait, there's another one? Yeah, it's just a foot. I know. Okay, I saw it. Like, I have the same degree of haters as, like, Pokimane does. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good comparison in my mind, is, like, me and Pokimane. Like, a percentage of... We have, obviously, a much larger community of, like, adoring fans who are dope and awesome. But then we also have a much, much larger percentage of hate watchers that watch us. If you compare us to like another content creator, do you know what I mean? Yeah, people also hate you because you're a woman as well. No, I always jokingly say whenever people tell me like, you know, oh my god, dude, you given what you do, you have like some of the worst haters or whatever. I'm like, yeah, it's the same as like being a woman on the internet, which sounds like such a fucking annoying like male feminist ally take, but it straight up is true. I promise you, you will never understand it. If you're not a content creator who is a woman on the internet, you will never understand this. Straight up, women on the internet, abso-fucking-lutely, without a doubt, get more hate than like anything else. Like just a random person on the internet.
Fixed the government. Fake socialist SMH.
A lot of people only don't like Poke because she said the N-word. That's fucking bullshit. Suck my fucking dick, dude. That is absolute bullshit. You are just a young Zoomer who saw a Gideon video and then didn't actually see the apology and like makeup video that they had. That is literally not even remotely fucking true. No, that is a justification that people try to use for hating on, just shitting on her. That's it. Crystal girl in my machine code class headphones unpaired with her phone and you blasted out of it. She was so flustered. That's so funny. I don't know. POCs have pretty tough too, Lamau. Oh, of course. Of course. I don't know if you know this, but like POCs can also be women too. I don't know if you know that or not, but I wanted to point out that like, you know, you can be a woman of color. Let's finish this video.
The Kremlin's rationale for war will steadily become weaker over time. In the age of mass media imagery, the Kremlin cannot exclusively rely on suppression at home to twist the narrative and keep its public content. Steadily but surely, Russia's war in Ukraine will turn into a strategic defeat, affecting Russian power within and without. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. By thinking that there is something dangerous to be avoided, the Ukraine war has manifested into something dangerous to avoid. I've been your host Shirvan from Caspian Report. If you found this video useful, leave a like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to receive further notifications. Thank you for watching, and Saul.
Shirvan! Shirvan! Sorry, I just wanted to yell his name out.